Okay.
Very well.
What is the topic today?
I will. It was
Yeah.
about our win yesterday. Yesterday,
Okay.
are we live? Are we gone live?
Yeah, we have gone live. We've gone live.
All right.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you want
Good
to,
evening. Welcome to this show on Know Your Strengths on Varun Kapoor's channel. Extremely delighted to have all of you here. I can see Sukija and Team SSR Forever, Ritukar, Benchunu Kumar. Thank you so much for joining. So, again, today we are with Vibhuti Jha, the expert on education, collaboration, how to make a proper representation about our image in other countries, a person who has been guiding several people, human resource organizations. So again, he's there with us, and today we are going to discuss about Indian education system, how good it is, and what are the various things that young people need to pay attention to. He has been talking about it in several forums, and the comments that come about it are so very inspiring. Young people are totally inspired by the way he talks, because it comes from experience, several years of experience, both within India and outside India. So, welcome, Vibhutiji. I'm really very glad to discuss this topic with you. I know you are an expert here, and you will be able to advise young people about what is it that they need to focus. And people who are middle aged and who are looking for proper educational avenues for children, what is it that they need to focus on? Yes, here is proper advice coming from the horse's mouth. So, my question to you is, the first question to you is, you know business is the crux of everything. People want financial success, economic success of a nation, how well it is doing, that decides everything, how powerful it is, how much of power it has over the other nations, how well can it represent itself, how well it is heard, so many things. So we find that there is so much of emphasis on MBA. About 3.5 lakhs of students do MBA within India every year. And then about 3 lakh students, and it is increasing by 22% every year, go abroad to do MBA in so many nations. Not that it is comes easy on the pocket, but they plan for several years and they work hard for it and they go abroad. So what is your take on MBA education? One is the quality of education as it is in India versus abroad. Second is the value of MBA per se, and how much MBA graduates would be able to contribute to the country, and how much value it adds to their own life. These are the various things that I would like you to focus on in the first question. So, yes.
thank you, Girija, for a remarkably deadly introduction. Calling me an expert, I don't like that nomenclature, expert. But
Okay.
you also made it very nice and short by saying the experience.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
the expertise is something that I draw my life lessons from sports.
Yes.
So in a sporting team like cricket, there are 11 players. In football, there are 11 players. The experience, ability of all 11 in different roles makes a team,
Absolutely.
right? So, there is no one expertise which is enough. Every football player, cricket player has his own set of expertise, but they
Yes.
contribute to the teamwork. So, you are right that my life has been a story of experience right from age 9 when I
Yes.
left home for a boarding school. So learning comes from that. I belong to a Gurukul tradition from Bihar, where I studied English also in Hindi medium, as I like to say it, which is true. Till
Yeah.
12th grade, it was Hindi medium. I learned English only after coming to college.
Yeah.
So before we jump into the conversation on education, I wanted to also highlight something that happened in New York yesterday in our neighborhood in Long Island.
Wonderful.
That also is education, a learning experience for all of us. This was an issue that happened in New York State Assembly and New York State Senate,
Okay.
where they passed a law, Senate passed a law where they were going to make compulsory in the school education from 6th grade to 12th grade to designate swastik, our swastik,
Okay.
as a hate symbol.
Oh God.
Oh yes, I like the way you expressed yourself just now. So people who are listening to this show must bear in mind that they were going to designate swastik as a hate symbol because because of Hitler's emblem that was there, the inverted cross.
Inverted. It is not the same.
It is not the same.
Not
You
the
are
same.
very
Yeah.
right, and that was the issue which was very important. There were several massive learning experiences that we Indians had here.
Yeah.
So New York State Senate passed it, and Assembly had to vet it, and Assembly had to vet it also to make it
Ratify
a
that.
law.
Okay.
And there was a massive. Once we came to know of it, which was at the Assembly level, then we got into action, and I'm
Okay.
happy to share with you that whether the entire cutting across every spectrum of Hindus here, whether it was Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, Arya Samajis, everybody united behind swastik.
Yes.
And we began to do an outreach to all the assemblymen and senators that this is a very vile, erroneous act against Hindus
Absolutely.
because it's wrong. What
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
interpretation of swastik is
Yes.
wrong because
Exactly.
Hitler also never called it swastik. He
Yes.
called it Hakenkreuz, as it is called in the German language. So we had a massive dialogue with them. And yesterday, the Democratic Party chairman of Long Island in Nassau and Suffolk counties announced to our group that this bill is not going anywhere. It is
Okay.
dead. It is finished as of now. That was an
Okay. Great.
important victory that we had. Yes, it
Absolutely.
feels very good about it.
Symbols are very important.
Yeah, symbols
And
are
I
very
had an experience with this swastik some 10 years back.
right.
My sister-in-law's daughter had come to India and she
Your
had come
voice
from
is still
Miami.
low. Your voice is still low.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, this is better now.
Okay. So my sister-in-law's daughter had come to India from Miami. Okay. And this was some 10 years back. And as a gift, I bought for her a pendant, which was a swastik. And she went via Germany. And in Germany, that pendant was confiscated and she was retained for about 24 hours. Then after that, she was put back in the plane. Then I came to know that it is going to be a huge problem. So after that, I never gift anybody swastik.
Now, that's an important
It's so
part.
sad.
You
Yeah.
stop not giving swastik as a gift
Gift, yeah.
because of the
Inconvenience it
false
causes to
learning or
others.
false
Yes.
impression created out of that. But
Yes.
here is an important point for you to bear in mind and all of us to bear in mind. Why did we keep quiet? Why did we
Exactly.
question that?
Yes.
Because
Yes,
it is
exactly. Yes. Yes.
it is our,
I was so
that's what
outraged.
happened
I was so
yesterday.
outraged, but then I didn't know what to do.
That's
What
what
I should
happened
have done.
yesterday.
Can you guide me?
I'm sorry.
What I should have done, I don't know. I didn't know at that point of time.
That's what
Because
happened.
that was the
here
first
a
time.
different
That was the
time.
first time I researched about it, and
Correct.
then I came to know it was a reverse symbol that Hitler used, and that
Correct.
is why they were against.
So yesterday, what we did was we made a fabulous presentation describing
Wonderful.
the difference
Yeah.
between what is swastik, which is evil, and what is our swastik, which is not. It's a symbol of a different
Absolutely.
thing altogether.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
had a great victory. The lessons that we learned from this, which is what we talked about, is
Yes.
very important. We have stalled it for now, but the question that I asked and we discussed, how do we prevent this from happening?
Absolutely.
Because in the United States or anywhere else, it is important to bear in mind it's a federal structure.
Yes.
New York State was passing this law unto itself.
Right.
Many other states would have followed suit.
Yes.
So we have to be now constantly be aware.
Vigilant. I know.
Vigilance is important, and we have to make sure that all the congressmen, Republican or Democrat, who ask for our campaign donations, contributions, and they ask for our vote, we
Yes.
have to draw up our own list of 10 commandments, perhaps, to use the
Yes.
language, is that if you are taking my vote and my money, then you
Yes.
owe it to us. That
Absolutely.
next time, if there is any legislation or conversation about our faith, Don't come to conclusion based on
Without
your
discussing.
little knowledge. Ask
Yeah,
us.
absolutely.
Because we are the people who are directly affected. Think about it. Our
Very
children
true.
at home, they see the mothers or parents put together a swastika
Worshipping
as a
it.
holy
Yeah.
symbol, and they go
Yes.
to school and they go through the teaching of hate symbol. How confused that Indian child or Hindu child is going to be.
Exactly.
That's what is important. And I also told that told Mr. Jacobs, and I said it in my tweet as well. That Mr. Jacob, you will go in the annals of Indian history and U.S. relationship. That is not only 1.3 million Hindus or the partly people living in New York State who are grateful to you, but
Absolutely. All
on
Indians.
behalf of 1.3 billion Hindus and Indians from India, I can
Yes.
say that had this happened, it would
Yes.
have affected the relationship between India and the US because you cannot destroy. And we also went bold with a statement
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
just because the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK,
Yeah.
burned the cross to intimidate and cause fear into their target groups doesn't mean cross is a sign of evil and intimidation,
Absolutely not.
right? So it
Yes.
is false narratives must be quelled. No, we had one
Yes.
assemblyman, one senator, John Lew, a Chinese gentleman. He was aghast that
Okay.
that this particular instrument meant this symbol meant so much for us, and he apologized. He said, "I'm not putting my name to this legislation anymore."
Okay.
So the message which I'm trying to reach to all our viewers, and
Yes.
to population at large is that we got to become engaged
Yes.
with the
Engaged.
surroundings that is happening. There's a
Absolutely.
big difference between education and literacy or getting a degree.
Degree. Yeah.
That's why
Absolutely.
in India we specifically talk about the rustic wisdom. The villages don't have the MBA degree, but they are full of wisdom of life and
Yeah.
times as
Absolutely.
experienced in a particular circumstances.
I
So
know.
that's what is
In
important
this
about it.
context, when you're talking about rustic wisdom, I remember my father. My
Let
father.
me get my cough drop
You
from a
get some
cup.
water? Yeah.
Yeah,
Please,
I have
please
water.
go
I
and
just
get.
let the cup drop. Thanks.
Yeah. Take your time. Yeah. Take your time. Yes. So I will just, I would like to share a story. My father, when he was just 7, at that point of time, his younger brother was 1.5. He lost his mother, and his father was hardly 30. My father lost his mother when he was just 7.5 year old, and his younger brother was 1.5. And then his grandmother, that is mother's mom, came to the son-in-law and said, "You are just 30. I don't want you to remain, a widower all your life. I want you to get married and enjoy your life. So why don't you give both the grandsons to me? I will look after them. I'll be very happy." So he was so sad, but then he understood that is the most practical thing to do. So the grandfather, my papa's father, he allowed her to take away both the grandchildren. Both the grandsons went with the grandmother, and then he came behind her, and he gave her all the jewelry that she had. A lot of jewelry. What she got at the marriage, and my grandfather also had purchased for her a lot of jewelry. She brought it home, and then after 2 3 months she heard her son saying that, "Okay, you have brought now the daughter and the two children, they have also now become a burden." So she just kept quiet. She went out the next day, sold out all the jewelry, and brought paddy fields, and she engaged people to look after the paddy field. So whatever income came from the paddy field, with that she managed to educate both my father and the younger son. So my father said, when later Rich Dad and Poor Dad came, he said, "My grandmother never read this book, but she understood that an asset that remained inside the locker is just a liability, because it on which you are going to spend for the locker every month is a liability." She understood that, and she was she lived up to the age of 104 at the time. And when this happened to her, she was already 54 or something, and totally uneducated. She couldn't even put a signature. but she understood how to manage. She managed finances so well. So rustic wisdom, as you say, is amazing as long as we listen to it.
Right.
So
And
amazing.
we have it all. So, I
Yeah,
wanted to also share that part. Today is Mahashivratri. I wanted to greet
absolutely. Yes.
everyone watching the show,
Yeah.
Bhagwan Shiv. And I also wanted to mention here that we Hindus must not call our Bhagwans as Lord. That was the British way to denigrate our Bhagwans.
Lord
The
Shiva.
British
Yes.
have a House of Lords.
Yes.
Our Bhagwans don't belong to their House of Lords. So
Yes.
bear in mind, it's a very subtle way to denigrate us by using the word English language in which
Lord.
we term Bhagwan as Lord. No, our
Okay.
Bhagwans, Ram or anybody, they are
Yes.
not lords.
Lord.
They are Bhagwans, and we must use the word Bhagwan. That's
This is a new learning for me.
that's what I say.
I
That
didn't realize it. Yes.
yeah, it is part of our own learning and education,
Yeah.
and we
Yes.
must make a distinction between education and literacy. It's a
Absolutely.
huge difference.
Yes.
I read a book during my MBA days, and my
Yeah.
thesis was on two subjects. One of them was the role of multinational corporations
Okay.
in India. Are
Yeah.
they negative or positive? So imagine, as long back as when I did my MBA, this was a matter of concern. So
Yes.
I read a book in which the opening sentence completely took me away. And that sentence was, pay attention to this, everybody, is that it's truly ironical that the world's largest enterprises, world's largest philanthropy organizations, world's largest institutions were created by people who had received least formal education, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't we know the story of how the enterprise began in a garage?
Yes.
How don't
Absolutely.
we know about
Yes.
the famous Bill Gates story that he's a college dropout from
Absolutely.
Harvard?
Yes.
And
Yes.
there are any number of stories.
Yeah.
There was no
Even here,
MBA
Dhirubhai
school,
Ambani was not
right?
an MBA. Yeah.
Right. So the point which I'm trying to say here is that when you get an MBA, you end up being a manager working for an entrepreneur who has made a business successful.
Right.
MBA course does not make you an entrepreneur or an innovator. That's what is
Correct.
important to realize. You are
Yeah.
looking for a job. MBA is the
Entrepreneurial mindset is
requirement.
something different. Right.
Yes, the
Yeah.
MBA is looking for a job.
Job.
It's a tool to get a job. Just as
Yes.
there was a time in our own country when you became a graduate, you were eligible for a job. Then the threshold went up to masters. Then the
Yes.
threshold went to MBA. Then you became PhD. Have greater specialization. Now we are living in an era which I believe, and I think I'm right, that MBA is gradually falling off the cliff. The significance of MBA is falling off the cliff for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
One, this has been in the marketplace for a very long time,
Absolutely.
very, very long time. So,
Yeah.
is it relevant anymore?
Very true.
The world is heading towards specific skills.
Specialization. Yes.
Specific skills.
Yes.
So, what happens right now in real terms, jobs are fast turning out people. People do not have that much patience anymore. The concept
Right.
of loyalty, which
Yeah.
existed at one time, that you joined a company, you spent your lifetime there, that's
Yes.
gone. Because individual, as he's getting more educated, is more desirous of material progress, and a
Correct.
10-15% pay hike or benefit hike, you go over to the competition, right?
Yes.
So the employers are now facing a dilemma that if I hire a pure MBA,
Mm.
I hire him, then I have to train him
Yes.
for my company, and then I train him. He becomes more capable. He gets skills that are required to run my business,
Then
and
he
he goes
leaves.
for a bigger company, bigger pay too, because he's now fully
Yeah.
trained.
Correct.
So companies are now saying that why do I need an MBA and then train him for a year? And it's not that he comes as an MBA with a specific skill, go into
Yeah.
marketing, production, finance, or whatever. So for
Correct.
finance guys, you are looking for an MBA doesn't go into finance because there are accountants and financial analysts and cost and works accountant who go into finance.
Exactly.
People are now doing specialized courses. Every single Ivy League institution in America is also running 2 years of master's program on specific skill sets. So whether you are in Columbia, whether you are in Harvard, Yale, anywhere, all universities are now running specifically designed courses, fully, deeper courses, leading to master's degree in a specific talent, not what you are good at. For the benefit of the listeners and the viewers, I'll share my personal example. So if you have a bit of patience, that will give you a pretty good insight as to how I approach the scenario. So my
Yes, it's
son did
very
a
important.
graduation
Yeah.
undergrad here, and as an undergrad from a good school, not an Ivy, he went to a small school which is known as Little Ivies. America has its own way of defining itself. So he did his course, joined HSBC as into the wealth management group, and after a few years, he said, "Dad, I don't like this. I don't like the 9 to 5 job. I don't know how you did it in American Express, but I don't like this 9 to 5 job. I want to work. It's too big an ocean. HSBC is too big an ocean. I don't even feel like a tiny fish in the ocean. I'm a
Okay.
nobody. And I don't have the patience to wait for 30 years to become the CEO of the company. So I would rather be in a small enterprise
Yeah.
where I learn things more and I'm valued as a contributor.
Very true.
I
Right.
want everybody to think about that from that perspective. That's the first lesson that came about. He
Very
decided for
true.
himself that this is not for me, despite having a successful father, successful banker as a father for him, who has
Right.
spent his lifetime in banking.
Correct.
Second thing happened. Then I told him, "Where do you want to work?"
Mm.
So I want to work in a small firm and see if I can contribute to its growth.
Mm.
Cut the story short, joined a private equity firm in real
Okay.
estate industry, which was
Yeah.
$100 million size company, is
Yeah.
struggling in the era of recession. After that, he grew that business from 100 million to $600 million in the time of real estate recession. And then he wanted to make a change for a different reason altogether. So my time came to change. I said, "What next?" So I asked him this question: "What made you successful in that business industry that you grew the company from 100 to $600 million in 4 years' time? What was
Yeah.
the reason that contributed to your success?" He said, "I was a very good negotiator for deals. I was a very
Yes.
good negotiator for deals, and I was able to close deals where the buyer and the seller were at loggerheads on price or issues arising there too. I was able to negotiate
Negotiate.
to the satisfaction of both buyers and sellers, and I began to pick up money on the table, which they were leaving and running away."
So negotiation skills is something not only required in the business arena, even in political field, everywhere you need negotiations.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that's the point which is important. So that's
Yes.
where led to the
Huh.
next decision making. Why?
Right.
And he was planning to go for MBA.
Right.
So I said, why not do the Columbia course in negotiation and conflict resolution?
Negotiations. Okay.
So he did his 2 years master's course in negotiation and conflict resolution instead of going for MBA.
Yeah.
And consequently, he is now running his own business in negotiation strategies for real estate and investments.
Yes. Yes.
What is important, the point which I'm trying to drive here,
Yes.
is that when you develop a skill set, then you move away from a job.
Exactly.
You see, every smart kid, every kid, why should I say smart? Every kid will always get a job. Whether you are
Yes.
flipping burger in McDonald's or Burger King,
Hmm.
or you are working for a big, large corporation, global company, you will find a job. But your success is also dependent upon whether you like that, to
Absolutely.
do that.
Yeah.
you know. So
Yes.
one of the most important things which I realized from all the IT people that come from as a body shopping thing to United States,
Right.
they have no career,
Very
they
true.
have no future in as a progressing within an organization. So think what happens to an IT guy when he comes from India.
Yeah.
He comes as a body shopping with a specific knowledge about technology. He
Yeah.
joins a company as a
Contract.
contract
Is
job. In
Yeah,
that
employee.
contract job, after that contract job is over, he moves. He is deputed to another contract thing, right? Until he
Yeah.
gets his green card,
Correct.
then he can move around as a free guy.
Free
But
guy.
think about it.
But it takes a long time.
It takes a
It
long
takes a
time.
long time. Yes. Yes.
So that's what is important to remember. Whether you
Yeah.
want to become a contract work, suffering what I call indentured servitude. It's a very powerful word. I'm
Yes.
doing this because I need money, because I have to pay
Yeah.
for my family, I have to pay for my
Absolutely.
college, my school. You no longer
Yeah.
have a life. You are now
Absolutely.
serving in indentured servitude, as a result of which you are perpetually a contract labor.
Very true.
Your growth is very limited. So
This.
my suggestion to people would be, this is the Mool Mantra that I designed actually
Mm.
with the help of
Yeah.
a fabulous lady called Jay, who was working for an HR company, and we were in conversation about this. That how does one find a job? How does
Okay.
one find a job that he thinks that this is it for me? This is my job. This is what I want to do.
At Human Potential,
Yeah,
did you
there
do
as
this
well
at
as
Human Potential?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
we stumbled upon the thought process from the
Okay.
sports arena.
Okay.
What happens in sports?
Yes. You
Right?
understand your strengths and then
Right. No,
develop those.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane did not have to go to IIT, MIT, or Harvard, or IIMs to
Right.
become a successful cricketer and earning boatload of money.
Very true. Yeah.
And they have a career satisfaction that they are doing something that they are best at.
Good at. Absolutely.
Think about it, tennis. Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, they would be lousy cricketers perhaps. And our cricketers will be lousy tennis players perhaps, right?
Exactly.
Likewise,
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi and all these people, they found their talent. So we came upon with this part of it that every individual must identify their talent. And that is something that you learn. How do you identify your talent? That's a big challenge. It's not easy to find your talent. And it's specifically true of people who are talented.
Very
Because you
true.
can do
You
whatever
get very
you do
confused.
when it
It's too
comes to
many
you.
potential.
Right.
Yes, too many
I can do
possibilities.
this, I
Yes.
can do this, I can do
Do
this, I
that
can do this, I can
exactly.
do whatever. Right? But you are best
Yes.
at X.
Even after doing gallops, you get confused.
Right. So that's what is important to remember. That you have to
Exactly.
identify your talent, build your skill sets around it. And then your value systems are more important. Very important. And
That
you
is
have to
true.
drive this
Most
with your value
important.
systems. Right?
Yes.
That's what is important. This is the mool mantra of
So if you look
finding.
at India's MBA,
uh,
your I would say probably value system is fine, but specialization is where we need to improve.
yes. MBA in America now is like a cash cow. अब आ रहा है जो आ रहा है पढ़ने के लिए उसको लेने दो उसके पैसे लिए हमने यूनिवर्सिटी इज मेकिंग मनी he gets a job after that whether he sticks or not is not my problem but the focus now has shifted for people with a specialized skill because then you become directly relevant to
Yes.
whichever company hires you. And remember one thing, it's very important to know,
Yeah.
even marketing or selling. I know a guy who was lousy marketer for travel business, but he was an excellent marketer or salesman for steel industry. Think about it.
Exactly.
Because you have to
So
have the natural thing. So there is another phrase which is important. Think about something that comes naturally to you. That's very important. That's the way you begin to identify talent.
very
What is
true.
it that you do which comes
That you
naturally?
feel good. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you are automatically move into that in that sphere.
You're drawn towards that.
You're drawn
You
to
know,
it. What
yeah,
draws you? What
absolutely.
must not draw you is the fancy or the fad.
Yes. Because
Oh,
soon
it is
you'll realize
fashionable
it's all
to do.
empty.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
fashionable to do IT, so everybody goes into IT.
Yeah.
If I go into IT, I will be a dud failure because I don't have the programming skills. So why would I go into that? I would be a very unhappy person as a programmer because it will take me longer to produce that. That's where the concept of time management comes in. So when you
Yeah.
know something you do well, you do it like
Yes.
this. If you
Absolutely.
don't know how to do it, it takes you hours and hours to finish the same job, which
And yet you're not
person with an
satisfied and you're not very
attitude
confident.
towards that does it very easy, great ease.
Very
So
true.
the Indian education, I believe I'm 100% Indian educated guy.
Yeah.
I'm not. I learned English in college actually when I came to Pune, Ferguson College and Wadia College. So
Yeah.
you can learn everything.
Right.
What is important is whether you can do it well. And I'm sure, I do know that not everybody speaks English well. But for me, I took it as a challenge that a language which had absolutely no head and tail, which has not come up with options to define or pronounce their words, you know, even spelled same, pronounced differently. Why? What is the logic? One doesn't know. I'm 100% sure, at least I know about Hindi and Sanskrit, and you can vouch for Tamil and Marathi if possible, is that there is no sound on the planet Earth that our language cannot capture.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Very
At
true.
least I know about Hindi and Sanskrit.
Yes. Yeah,
Every
Sanskrit.
single
Yes.
phonetic
Absolutely.
thing can be sound can be
Yeah.
captured in this. That's
For
the problem.
example, there is this sound here in Tamil which most people cannot pronounce.
Yeah,
So
but you can
there
write it.
every all absolutely
Correct,
yes.
correct.
So all nuances are captured there.
Right. So my recommendation to the youth, the parents is, and it's virtually based on experience. I do not want, I really pray that Indian parents do not send your children to America to study in a liberal arts college where they are taught liberal arts. You end up hating India and Hindus more. It's a very tragic development. The second generation Indians are virtually lost to Hindu causes. They are Hindus in
Yes.
name only because they have now been inculcated with the liberal education of a kind which forces you in a direction that you never
Right.
knew. So think about it. If American colleges are teaching you that Christianity is the way or this is the way in the name of freedom of religion, they say
Absolutely.
oh, Jesus is the only way. So I'm questioning the assumption that if you talk about freedom
Yeah.
of religion and you talk about Jesus is the only way, that means you are not giving me the freedom of religion to my belief.
Exactly.
So, what is freedom of religion that you are teaching? This is the way to go. Then you get
Exactly.
inculcated. People ask Indian students here who are second generation Indians, they say, what? Why do we do so many Murti pujas?
Exactly. They do not understand that.
You
Yes.
will be surprised to know
Yeah.
that the first generation Indians are actually struggling with their children in
Yeah.
trying to inculcate the sense which they failed to do because they were busy making their life and living, which
Absolutely.
is a sad part.
Totally understandable, but we have to do something about it at least now.
Collectively, yeah.
Yes, yeah, at least now. And
Yeah,
then many of us who know we must use all the forums possible. And
absolutely.
today,
Absolutely.
the young media is interested in, audiovisual medium is the way we can reach out to them.
True.
So we need to
Absolutely.
use as many talk shows as possible, or video making videos as possible, films as possible, so that they understand the strength of our culture. And when you're talking about skills, there are probably Indian universities have to explore more about giving skills and skills which are context based. Say, for example, there are so many cottage industries in India, right? And they're all dying. And there are people, like you said, who are naturally drawn towards it. And if training can be given in those skills, and probably how exactly they can market those products, they will do very well. So visual arts, music, performing arts, not only technology. I definitely see that there is a lot of future. There is a lot of way that people can make money and live a happy life. There is not that they cannot make money, but it is all very generic. It is also to be tied up with business. It is also to be tied up with how they can market their business, how they can earn money out of it, how they can make people understand the value of the art that they're presenting, connect them to their heart. It is, say, if they are dancing, it is not just a dance show, but what does the dance actually represent? How is it connect with the cosmic energy? If they are able to talk about it, then people connect with it. So it's very important that our studies go beyond, not just emulate or imitate the Western culture. We need to
Oh,
delve deep
that
into
is
this.
such a valid point that we Indians, we Hindus, I'm being very specific about it. We
Yeah.
Indians, we Hindus, we have to study Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana.
Yes.
It is so important. There was a Harvard
All the
educated.
management lessons you're getting there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the management lessons are right out in those texts, and this is
Absolutely.
important. And remember one thing: there are certain distinctions to be made here.
Yes.
You alluded to that. One is getting a job, the other is
Yes.
creating a life.
Right. Exactly.
So if you're getting into a job, that's fine, but be consciously aware what you are getting into. Not everybody will become an entrepreneur. Not
Right.
everybody can become a businessman. I am urging people to understand yourself better, and that to that end, the vocational elements must matter a lot. So I can't be X, you can't be
Yeah.
Y. But I can be successful as X and you can be successful as Y. The
Absolutely.
skills, the skill development leads
Yeah.
you to developing your own business. And my favorite example is whether it is carpentry, plumbing, sanitation,
Absolutely.
if you are in these professions,
Yes.
we have to do a cultural shift in ourselves. Is
Yes.
to respect what people do. That's what I learned in America when I came here. Is that
And
everybody
also have
was
pride, like you said, pride in what you do.
you pride in what you do. Because if
Yes.
sanitation people, think about it, while we look down upon sanitation people, but if those people don't clean our homes and streets, our
Yes.
homes and streets stink.
Actually, in our building, there is
Right?
this, we people call him Kachrawala, right?
Hmm.
So, what if one day he doesn't come, you can't live in that colony,
Exactly.
right? So,
Exactly.
I told, why are we calling him Kachrawala? We should call him Safaiwala.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, we have started calling him Safaiwala, and he's smiling. I
Right.
said, why we stop calling him Kachrawala?
Correct.
He's Kachrawala is
Likewise.
absolute. Who's Kachrawala? We are the
Exactly.
Kachrawalas. We
Yeah.
are the Kachrawalas. We are throwing Kachra.
Kachra.
He's a
Exactly.
Safaiwala.
The other part is also like this, that in India, we look down upon functions. We look down on, oh, driver hai, oh, driver ko bulao. I tell my
Exactly. He
friends
has a
when I go
name.
to India, driver का
Yeah.
नाम है क्या? तो बोलो ना
Exactly.
कि मेरे राम को बुलाओ, मोहन को बुलाओ, या सैमुअल को बुलाओ, या मोहम्मद को बुलाओ. मेरा
Whatever.
ड्राइवर
Exactly.
उसका नाम है ना,
Name. Yes, absolutely.
उसके नाम से पुकारो.
Yeah.
As the saying
You'll be
goes, that
very, you'll be very sad to see when postmen come. They come during Diwali, and they come asking, "Ma'am, Diwali hai." You understand? Okay, they are coming
right,
because they want to get some, bakshis. But you feel they are doing such a important service. Maybe in cities you don't require them because there is courier service now, but even today it is the postman who is going to all distant villages and dropping the
right,
post. He is
right,
walking 15 miles, 20 miles, or going in a bicycle and delivering it. So
right,
if I have my mom and grandmother or somebody living in a small village and I want to spend her some small amount, she doesn't go to the bank, she doesn't operate a Paytm, so it is this postman who goes with the money order and gives. But we don't even bother to know their names.
right.
So
So India needs
everybody is
to
essential.
shift its mental equilibrium.
Yes.
to make
The
sure that
social relevance of the job, the economic sustainability, even MBA, like we talked about MBA when I said that we need to talk about, we need to look at specializations which are, art oriented, which are industry oriented, cottage industries oriented, because you find there are 29 states in India, 29 states of different kind of weaves, different kinds of saris. All of them are so different and so special, so beautiful, and
yes,
all of them dying because we have not given them how to sustain themselves. Given them education about economic sustainability.
absolutely.
If MBA courses can be created around that, a lot of young people from those villages will do wonderful job, and a culture will flourish everywhere. The whole world will appreciate our garments.
That's right.
So
So,
beautiful they
our
are.
universities and our colleges must encourage this vocational education. The Prime Minister did
Absolutely.
make a very significant effort for skill development work,
Very
and
true.
I had suggested that if you want the skill development to take roots,
Hmm.
we have to begin to treat people with respect.
Absolutely.
Because I use the jargon and I say this openly that the drivers who drive you in Bombay and Delhi or Calcutta or Chennai, they are your sarathis. They are the ones who navigate you from the difficult passage to reach your destination. And
Very
without
true.
that sarathi, you will be stuck in a traffic jam and unable to
Yeah,
perform your job. So respect whoever does
absolutely.
whatever.
Right.
Don't look down upon anything or anybody. But skill development is the one which leads to setting up of a business. I mean,
Right.
in United States, I learned that, and 90% of the United States operates in private sector.
Yeah.
Even ultra secret defense contractors are all in private sector because the
Okay.
country trusts. It's not
Yes.
U.S. government that manufactures F-16s and all the stealth bombers, or they're made in
Now,
private.
all our COVID medicines have come from private sector this
Exactly.
time. In India also.
That is why I was particularly happy when
Yeah.
Prime Minister Modi talked about the fact that business
Yes.
को respect देना है. We have to
Correct.
respect the private sector. And incidentally, it's so very important that India was the original example of coexistence of a mixed economy,
Okay.
of a public-private participation.
Yeah.
Was India was one of the finest examples of public sector, private sector, enterprise system.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we always look down upon private sector as the evil guys who are only interested in making money.
Making money. Exactly.
And the
Very true.
government put whole kinds of restrictions on the private sector for doing something or not doing something. So getting
I
back to the
remember Deccan Airlines when it started.
right,
Deccan Airlines when it
right,
started. He said, okay, I just want to allow every person in every village has to have an access to the plane. So
right.
that is the vision with which started. So I think so many industries start like this because people want to help the people in the immediate community. That is how enterprises are coming up now in India.
Yeah.
A lot of new enterprises are coming up and they're doing marvelously.
Yeah, yeah.
Startups this culture is coming up now. That is the biggest transformation that I see.
Oh yes, absolutely. I 100% believe that. I have great faith in Indian youth.
Yeah.
I have great because what has happened between my generation and today's generation, and I'm seeing this between myself and my son. We
Yeah,
belong to a
exactly.
generation where we had no choices or very
Absolutely.
few choices.
Very true. Yes.
Today's generation, as you talked about graphic work and everything else,
Yes.
specialized skill sets are available. Today's
Yes.
youth has an awesome opportunity to do whatever they want.
Absolutely.
Question
Yes.
is, find your talent. The graphic artists also make a lot of money.
Absolutely.
The car designers also make a lot of money. They spend hours and hours of spending time in the design, but they
Absolutely.
also make good money. But that's where they are successful. The objective has to be for every Indian that how do I make myself my productive best? If I am a cricket
Absolutely.
player, I will never be a productive best in playing basketball.
Yeah.
That's what is important to know. And that's what we need to focus on, because India needs its own Nike and own Adidas.
Yes.
They are jute banane wale hain lekin, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And I
So
always say to people that pay respect to that chamar who makes our shoes.
absolutely.
Points. Because without those shoes, our
Yes.
feet will hurt and our walking ability and transportable ability will decline.
I remember the story when you're talking about the shoes. I do not know how far true it is. It is about American President Abraham Lincoln when he was in the House of Parliament. At the time, somebody tried to make fun of him and he said his father made shoes for me. So Abraham Lincoln happened to hear it and he said, "Thank you very much for saying that. And is there any issue with it? Then, in that case, I would like to correct it for you." So he
Very
brought
well.
dignity to what is, yes, absolutely. So he said, if there is any issue with it, I can mend it for you. So the president of the country was proud that his father was a shoemaker.
Correct.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is what is important here. There is a value of labor. India has a unique problem. It has its own unique challenges. We have
Right.
too many people.
Yes.
So, बढ़ई को बुला लो, प्लम्बर को बुला लो, respect थोड़ा कम है. यहाँ पे
Exactly.
respect इसलिए भी आया. It also came about because there is a shortage of people.
Shortage of people. Yes. Yes.
So, but the plumber is a plumber. Your house will be full of water and leakages if plumber doesn't fix the problem, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Very, very
the
important.
the function becomes more important than a
Yeah.
person specific doing it. And let me give you my example.
Hmm.
I am, numbers. Let's talk about numbers. India is good
Right.
in maths,
Yes.
but the important part is Indians are good in math. But the important part is,
Yes.
knowing the numbers well, I realize that I will be a very lousy accountant. I can't be
Okay.
an accountant. I don't have the abilities to be an accountant, but I have the ability to spread the balance sheet and really
Analyze
dissect
that.
the balance sheet. That's
Yes.
why I was successful in a banker, because I could read the balance sheet, analyze the
Right.
statement, notes to the account, and I went through that ability of mine. Whereas I
Yes.
would have been a lousy accountant, maybe I would never have passed the exam, but I became a better banker because I knew how to analyze the balance sheet. This
Very
is where
true.
you
It's
make
very
the
important. Very important. Otherwise, you won't know who's cheating you where.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
Basically, yes,
That's right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Very important.
I know
Yes.
of a guy, very important in Bangalore. His father had a enormously successful CPA practice, a chartered accountancy practice. The guy was so good in accounting was not even funny. But there was one subject in CA exam that he always failed.
Okay.
He never passed. He never passed that exam. Can you imagine his frustration?
I know it happens with many people I
It
know.
happens to many people.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, he was
Absolutely.
brilliant, but he couldn't pass
Yes.
that particular exam.
Exactly.
That's what we have to remember. That's something that holds you back.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
because I am a doctor, I make my son a doctor, and
You
that
can't.
way life doesn't work like that.
Absolutely.
You see, it is
Absolutely.
about you as an individual, and I would hope that I believe in Indian education system because it creates competition, it creates knowledge base, it makes you work hard. But I have only one frustration with Indian education system, and that is they do not help you identify your talent.
Yes.
That's
And another experience also I have.
yeah.
My daughter studied in India, both my daughters, and then they went abroad. They are in US. So when she studied there, she said that in the classrooms, classroom participation is 50% marks. Okay. In India, in a classroom, you have got 120, 130 students sitting in the best of classes. So what happens is the student who is quiet is considered the best student. They don't encourage you to ask questions.
Right.
Whereas in the US, it is just the opposite.
Yes.
You've got to express yourself. You've got to present your arguments. You've got to present it convincingly. So she said half the students couldn't express themselves even though they had the complete idea what they need to say. whoever has come from India. She said, even mommy, the felicity of language is so good, but they still don't have the confidence to get up and talk because they are not used to doing it in the classroom. So
Right.
that 50% marks, which comes, the grades which comes because of classroom participation, they would lose out on that. So this is another thing. We have to educate our youth how to present their ideas convincingly, talk about it, also present their views politely but yet firmly, to assert themselves. These are very important skills that our youth need to develop. Most of the time, we feel very strongly about something, like I said, but I didn't know how to react, how to go about it. So this is a very important skill that we need to teach our people.
You are so right, and I'm glad about your daughter's experience, because what I learned here in America was that they encourage you to inquire. It's
Exactly.
only from inquiry that you learn.
Yeah.
When you make an inquiry, there is a difference between making an inquiry and asking a question.
Both.
Asking a
Yes.
question is probably can be misunderstood as a defiance or whatever. But
Yeah.
if you understand what I mean, you must make
Yeah.
inquiries.
Yeah, but that's what, when you make inquiries in a classroom in India,
Right.
it is possible that teachers misinterpreted that you're trying to create mischief because they're
Correct.
so fed up. But
Correct.
that is not the case in the US. They encourage you to ask questions.
Right.
If they're presenting a case study, they want you to analyze that case study, talk about that in the classroom.
Right.
But because in India, you never had an opportunity to express yourself, okay, so the students are not confident. And also there is another problem, because the students don't speak and they're encouraged not to speak, and those students who don't speak are called good students. Sometimes parents are not able to find out that their children have a problem. After many years, they find out that they have certain problems, psychological issues. They do not realize those
And that's
because
where
of the classroom situations. Exactly.
and that's where the parents' role becomes very important.
Very
In
important.
India, what we say, my child is the most obedient child, and we consider that as a
Exactly.
virtue.
Yeah.
Right?
Children need to be seen, not heard.
Yeah.
Children need to be
Right.
seen,
So
not heard.
what is important for
Encourage them
us
to
as
talk.
parents is to encourage them
Yeah.
to ask, make inquiries.
Yes.
Like I
Absolutely.
say, I tell people, asking question respectfully is absolutely legitimate.
Absolutely acceptable.
Why
Yes. We
is
should
it this?
encourage
Why is it that? Child's mind is full of curiosity. Walt Disney, when I went to Disneyland,
that. Yeah.
waiting in line for a particular program, I saw the writing on the wall that if you want to experience world in a new way, look at it from the eyes of a child.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
the child is the one which learns, right? Is full
Right.
of
Absolutely.
inquiry.
Yes.
Is full of inquiry, and that's what is important for us to know. That the one way to, and it is a direct relationship part of it as well. Your
Absolutely.
relationship with your kids, your most authentic creation, is
Yes.
entirely a function of your level of communication with them.
Yeah.
And the communication
Absolutely.
will happen only if we address each other's concerns and each other's
Yes.
inquiries. Because
Exactly.
children are different. We never
Yes.
gave the choice of parents to our children, nor did we have a choice of choosing our parents, right? So,
Yes.
as a
Absolutely.
result of which, considering that we believe that in our Hindu philosophy, they say 7
Yeah.
generations to the mother's side and 7 generations to the father's side,
Other side. Yeah.
the elements come, and then you begin to say, how did you become like this? Hey, you did not know your grandfather of sixth generation, sixth
Absolutely.
stage, so you have
Yes.
no idea. He has perhaps
Absolutely.
carried the genetic traits of your great 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 grandfather, who you
Grandfather.
don't know anything about. So
You have never seen him. Exactly. Not even heard about him. Exactly.
exactly.
Still, you get those traits. Yes.
So,
Yes.
for example, it's very 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 interesting. Like
Yes.
my father used to
Absolutely.
love cheese and a couple of items. Guess what? I didn't like those things, but my son loves it, and I tell him that Papa would have been so happy to see you like enjoying what he used to love. And my mother always wondered, why did my father like that stuff? That's what is important. Open the channel
Exactly.
of communication with your children.
And
Get to
expression.
know their
Yes.
concerns. Make them understand that they are free to ask whatever they want respectfully. Don't have to prove
Exactly.
me wrong, which is what I
Absolutely.
always say. The children,
Yeah.
what parents must tell them, that you
Yes.
have all the universe in your palm these days.
Absolutely.
You have the
Absolutely.
universe in your palm, but it will still take you 30 years to have 30 years of experience, right?
Better ask. Absolutely.
So
Ask
use me
questions.
as a resource. Use me as a resource.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
may not have answer to everything, but I will
Right.
definitely share with you things based on my experience.
But we
That
have the best intentions, right? We have the
that
best intentions. There is
that's
no
what is
question about
important and
it.
critical to remember
Absolutely.
that. Hey,
Yes.
it's always a great. This is something very important. I'll share with you one last bit before we end the show today. Is
Yeah.
what we realized that most of the Indians apply for U.S. universities
Right.
and they all try to go to the best.
Yes.
The Indian talent pool that applies to United States is a very tough pool. It's one of the
Yes.
toughest pools for two
Right.
reasons. One is that the Indian students are very good in their GRE, TOEFL, and all
Absolutely.
these scores.
Yeah.
Only the top level people get admission in the big ones. At the
Yes.
same time, it's a very strong pool. The
Yes.
difference between a Girija and a Vibhuti is perhaps 0.1% in marks, just zero point 0.1, up and down.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Then what the college
Same in
wants to
Indian
know
University.
is what kind of a person are you?
Are you? Exactly.
Do I need you in my college? Do I
Right.
need the person? That's why they ask you for essay writing. That's why they ask
Yes.
you multiple questions. Is basically to look at you. Yeah, GRE score, TOEFL score, and all these scores so neutralize ho jate
Yeah.
hain.
Exactly.
Everybody is in the top
It's
percentile.
finally these essays that get you to the
Essay
interview.
score that describes you as a person. And the US admission
Absolutely.
system is very subjective.
Yes.
Very
Absolutely.
subjective.
Yes.
Because the universities and colleges decide on the basis of their requirement for the year and the 4 years to come. So if they want to maintain a specific gender ratio, that hey, we
Yes.
have 80% girls and 100% boys, this is the ratio 80, 100, 80 to 80, 180. I want to bridge that and I want to make it 95 girls from
Yeah.
each
They accordingly they will.
that year they will get admit more girls in their colleges because they want to change the ratio. The
They're
ratio
also
can
looking
also
at
change.
diversity also, right?
They
Diversity
also
also
can
is something.
change country-wise.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
already have enough Indians in my populated in my school. I don't need
Yes.
any Indians this year, or I don't
Right.
need any Chinese. I don't need any Koreans. I don't
Yeah.
need any Brits. I don't need any French. I don't need them in
Okay.
my school this year. So
Yeah,
if you are
absolutely.
if you are one of those, and if that is your preferred college, and if you don't get it, you are immediately depressed. So my
Yeah.
suggestion to Indians is that definitely leads to depression. That oh my God,
Yes.
I didn't make it there, and then you suddenly realize, oh God, how did she make it there? How did he make it there? I had all the better marks than him or her.
Yeah.
The reason
Don't
is
be disheartened. Yes.
so. My suggestion to Indians is, if you want to come to study to United States, don't go for a general course. Go for a specialized course. Look for colleges which are good in the specific arena, and then
Yes.
go for it. This is a deep
Excellent.
topic. We will talk about it
Yeah.
as we go along again.
Thank you. But thank you, Varun, for your comment. There is one question which is very relevant today, being Mahashivratri. So we can close with this. How can we all unleash the power of the unconscious mind to build on one's strength?
That's
So
a
today's
that's a very
very deep
spiritual,
question.
powerful question, and
Yes.
the unconscious
Which
mind.
is
Look, I'm a meditator for last 30 years,
yes.
so I do not say I have an expertise in the area of unconscious mind, but
Yes.
you have to remember that to develop a mind, you have to allow the mind to work and rest.
Yeah.
Mind is not a chalkboard in which you can develop it with a muscle exercise. The mind
Exactly.
is that entity, unconscious mind, which lives through your experience, your learning, your environment, and that's where the unconscious, everything sits in the unconscious. So
Yes.
that's a subject matter of a deeper dive. I would
Yes.
just say, unconscious mind. There is a conscious consciousness, there is an unconscious consciousness, there is unconscious unconsciousness.
Consciousness.
So there are many
Yes,
stages
exactly.
of this awareness that is important. And
Right.
it has also to become with your embodied competence.
Absolutely.
Use the example of driving.
Yes.
Take your first day. You were consciously
Consciously.
conscious that you
Conscious.
did not know driving at all. Today we drive with a complete unconscious mind
Unconsciousness.
because
Yeah,
of the embodied competence that has set into your,
exactly.
about that ability. We'll talk about this later. It's a very
Yes.
deep topic.
So, a very small suggestion: the unconscious mind is very powerful. It absorbs everything that we listen. So, it is very important that we listen to positive things. We think positive because we absorb all those energies around us. So it is very important whom we associate ourselves with, what kind of books we read, what kind of electronic shows do we watch, what games we do, everything. We think, oh, it is just an activity and it is not going to impact me. I just did it for half an hour. But it does have an impact. And it is that is how even during pregnancy they say it is something very, very important. So we need to realize that the unconscious mind is the most powerful thing. It is the Hanumanji sitting inside, and then you don't even realize that he can leap over the ocean.
Right.
That is the kind of power that unconscious mind has.
And one of the most beautiful books to read in that reference, and to Team
Yes,
SSR forever, I would suggest that share with that gentleman.
yes.
Read the book Autobiography of a Yogi by Yoganand Paramahansa.
A
That,
wonderful,
that's
wonderful
the book.
suggestion.
That book is a absolutely scientific deep dive
Yes,
into this subject matter, where the
absolutely,
body transports itself from place A to place B,
absolutely.
and those are scientific proof of
Yes,
it happening. So
yes,
that book is a fabulous book. I give that book as a gift to people in America so that they
yes.
understand our way of life better. That's a good
Yeah,
book to read.
wonderful. In Sri Ravi Shankar's ashram, you can see small children, and they are with the power of the unconscious mind sitting here, able to lift objects 10 feet away. They if you It is demonstrated in front of guests. I write something and show in and keep it in front of the paper, and the child is blindfolded, but he is able to read everything, say everything
Right.
as it is in front of him because of the extrasensory perception.
Correct.
So that is the kind of power that we have. It is taught
Very
to
true.
children below 9 there.
Very true.
So we need to today is Mahashivratri. Meditate, be powerful. It is so powerful. Even Om Namah Shivaya, simple plain recitation or listening to plain Om will do. And if you all can stay awake, and Brahma Muhurta 3:40, if you are awake, nothing like it. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much for watching us.
Hey,
And
pleasure,
you
Girija.
were
Always pleasure.
amazing, Vibhuti.
Ah,
Amazing.
thank
So
you.
many
It, it
hints
takes
for
two to
people.
tango, so I would say thank you for bringing the best out of me, perhaps, but I'm grateful, honored to be here and sharing my thoughts. Deeply appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you for the show. And thank you, Team SSR. And thank you, Chunu Kumar, Darak, Voice of Sukija, all those who have been here. Thank you so much. We are
Thank
ending
you.
the broadcast. I won't say good night. Mahashivratri. Bye.
Mahashivratri.
Yes.